Hi guys, today we are going to be trying out a palette from a brand that I didn't even know existed a few weeks ago. I know I followed them on Instagram and then out of nowhere they messaged me and they were like, hey, we're coming out with our first palette, would you like to try it? And at the time they hadn't really shown it, so I didn't know what it was. And so I was like, you know, maybe can you tell me a little bit more about the palette? Like what kind of palette is it? What's the color story like? And so on, just so I could kind of have an idea before I just accept it. And they were like, well, it's gonna be an all shimmery, sparkly kind of palette. And I'm like, ooh, that's pretty. And then my next question was, are there any glitters? Because you guys know I don't like glitters, and they said no, and I was like, all right, bring it on. And then I got the palette in the mail, and let me just tell you, it's very rare for me to dig my fingers into a palette when I first get it before, you know, showing you guys or before taking photos or anything like that, but I just couldn't help myself. So the palette that they sent me is called the Break the Rules palette, and this is an all shimmer palette, like I said. They also were so kind to send me a mirror. These do come sold as a bundle if you're interested. I think that this palette actually sold out, but they are planning on doing a pre-order soon. So I'll leave their website link down below if you want to go check it out, but I will show you the palette. This is so freaking beautiful. Like, I just... look at this. Let me show you a little bit close up here. So these are all kind of multi-chromy, duochromy, shimmery, toppery goodness. I mean, oh my goodness, when I swatched this, I almost died a little bit inside, and I have such high expectations for this, and I'm so shocked that this brand just like came out of nowhere and just dropped the bomb that is this palette. And I also love the name of it. It's called Break the Rules, like I said, and I love that. You guys know I don't really follow the rules when it comes to makeup, and I don't really believe in having rules when it comes to makeup, so this is just perfect. I want to just do some live swatches with this because I just want to spend a little bit more time on these shadows than what I normally do on my swatches. So let's just do 3 shades at a time here. So we're gonna go Bold, Stay Radical. These are so soft and creamy. And then Not Listening. And just wait until you like see these. These are so freaking beautiful. I can't wait to put these on my eyes. I feel like, look at that. You probably cannot see like how this is such a unique shade. It's like a coral with a green shift to it. It's so cool. And I feel like with some glitter primer, oh my goodness, like these are gonna be so wet looking and shiny and dimensional and just beautiful on the eyes. And I have not been this excited about a palette in what feels like forever. Like, I know this is an all shimmer palette, so I'm not gonna do an all shimmer look because I don't do that, but I'm still just like, this is like the perfect companion palette, like in my opinion. And I love the color story. It's just so beautiful. I'm just so excited about this. So next up we have Make Me Go Rouge, I think is how you say that, and then Eager for More. And you can really see like the different textures in these shadows. I will show you close-ups after too. Like this one is definitely more of a sheer toppery shade, whereas the one that I just swatched is a little bit more opaque. Same with this one, but look at that. These are so pretty. And for the last row, we have Your Choice, Rebel, as well as Just Watch. Just gonna give these some swatches as well. This is also one of those kind of sheer toppery shades. It has a blue shift to it. Look at that red. Look at it. This reminds me of the red from the P.O Cosmetics palette that I reviewed last year that ended up being the #2 palette of the year for me. That red is, oh, I love this. I feel like this color story, you can do so many different things because these have such unique and like shifty, reflective, glittery, sparkly goodness that depending on what you put in the crease, you can really pull out like whatever the shift in these duochromes are. And I just think that this is going to be so fun. So fun. I'm going to find some mattes that I can use to play with this palette, figure out what it is that I want to do, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I pulled out some of my Wooden Side palettes because I haven't used these in a while and I just want to use them again. And I think I want to use mostly that shade up here. That's kind of like that corally green shade. I think it's just going to be so interesting. I don't know. I really just want to use all of the shades in this palette, but I've said before with like special shades like this, the best way to really make them shine is to kind of use them on their own or like over a big surface area. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Might use a little bit of this one as well, just like in the outer corner of my eye or something. But I think that's going to be the plan. I do want to definitely do more looks with this. So expect a 3 looks 1 palette with this palette because I can't just do one look and like call it a day because I really need to put all of these on my eyeballs because they are so pretty. So I'm going to start by priming with my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base. I am going to use some glitter glue with these though because I just feel like it's going to really make them pop. But I'm going to kind of speed through the mattes because it's not really part of the video here. I take back what I said about not spending time on the mats because I want to test out some of the BK Beauty brushes that I got. I talked about BK Beauty as a brand that I wanted to try in 2021. They saw my video and they offered to send me a bunch of their brushes. So they sent me a face brush set as well as a eyeshadow brush set. So I want to test out some of these. I've already kind of played with some of these for like my foundation and my concealer and my powder and my bronzer. And so far, these are beautiful quality. I'm still kind of playing around with like the shapes and figuring out like what works best with what, but so far I really like these. Like these are wonderful. And like I said, I want to test out the eyeshadow brushes. Some of them are probably going to be a little bit too big for me, but I really like the shapes of them and I think that I'm going to be able to make these work. So the only brush that I probably won't be using much is this one. This is the 201. This is like their blending brush, but as you can see, it's quite large on me because I do have small eyes. I know I say that all the time, but I'm gonna try out this brush here. This is the 202 brush. I feel like this is nice and pointy and I'll be able to get into my crease pretty nicely here. So let's see, what do I want to do for my crease? I was thinking something kind of like pinky mauve-y. So I'm first gonna dip into the Elva 2 palette from Odense here. And I'm gonna start by taking this shade, which is called Peach Juice, as my transition shade. Just gonna put that into my crease, like I said, as my transition shade here. And it's kind of weird to be using synthetic eyeshadow brushes. I'm so used to using my Rephr brushes, especially for my mattes. So to go back to synthetic, this is laying down the color very nicely. The brush is definitely a little bit too big for what I like for packing on color. This is definitely more of a diffusing kind of brush for me, but as long as I'm not doing any kind of detail work, like if I'm just putting a shadow into my crease and blending it out, this is definitely doing a good job. Oh, and this color is just so beautiful too. I keep forgetting just how much I love this palette. And for under my eye, I'm going to switch to this brush. This is an angled brush. It's called the 205. I actually really like these kind of brushes for underneath my eye. I had one from, what was it, Luxie, that I used to use all the time, but ever since I got my Rephr number 13, it's like the brush that I use for literally everything, and it's just nice not having to like switch brushes. But I really do like angled brushes like this that are supposed to be like, you know, blending brushes at the same time because they're very nice and soft. That looks really nice. I like this brush a lot. If you guys have been looking for like a synthetic alternative to the Rephr brushes, definitely look into the BK Beauty brushes because they are really nice quality. It just depends on what kind of shapes it is that you look for in your brushes. So with the same angled brush, I'm going to use this to deepen up my crease just on the outer portion. I don't want to take this all the way through. I do want this to be more of a softer kind of look. So I'm going to dip into the Elva palette, which is the number 1 palette. I'm going to take the shade here called Peony. This is like a brown mauve kind of in a way. I don't know. It's a little bit hard to explain, but I'm going to start by putting that in the outer corner of my eye and then just gently blend it into my crease just on the outer portion here. I don't want this to like really take over the look. I just want to add a little bit of depth in the outer corner. And I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but I feel like I'm going a bit cross-eyed right now. I've been playing so much Scrabble online. I know that is like probably so sad for so many of you because it's such a boring game for most people, but I've been really enjoying it. But I find that when I'm on my computer a lot and like really focusing, somehow it doesn't happen if I'm like editing or just like watching YouTube or something. But if I'm like really focusing on the screen for long periods of time, sometimes I end up going a little bit cross-eyed. I do have, or have had at least, problems with my eyesight ever since I was a kid. I do have some kind of condition that's not like super serious and it's not really going to get any worse, but it's something that kind of flares up a little bit sometimes. So if it looks like I'm cross-eyed, it's probably because I am right now, and I'm not even sorry because I'm having such a good time. Oh, it's so sad. I don't know why I enjoy Scrabble so much. It's one of those games that I started playing when I was very young, and I've just kind of stuck with it, and I've just really been enjoying it. And I found this new online site that I've been playing on, and it's just been a lot of fun. So really nice brush. Is it going to take over my Rephr brush? Probably not, just because of the shape of it, but it really did put down the color nicely and it blended it out nicely as well. So I think what I'm gonna do, I know it's not looking like super blended right there. I'm just gonna go over it with my blending brush that I used for my first shade, and then I'm gonna put down some of my NYX glitter primer. I'm going to open a new tube because when I came into my room this morning, my old NYX glitter primer was laying right in front of me with the cap open, so probably dried out, but it was almost gone anyway, so it's probably a sign for me that I needed to open the new tube. So I'm gonna take this on my 203 brush from BK Beauty. This looks to be the perfect kind of putting on shimmers on the lid kind of brush. It's like, it's flat, but it's a little bit fluffy at the same time, which I prefer that in my lid packing brushes, because I do like to normally blend my eyeshadow into my crease, and I like having a brush that I can put down and blend it out at the same time. This reminds me a lot of the MAC 242 brush, which is like my favorite for putting anything on the lid. I'm gonna take that glitter primer a little bit over the outer edges here as well, where I put down the brown, because I do want to probably put 2 of these shades on my eyes. Now let's go into this palette and see what it is that I want to use. I'm gonna start with a shade called Stay Radical. This one just looks like everything that I would ever want in an eyeshadow. Gonna pick that up with the same brush here. It's not picking up the absolute best, but let me just go ahead and see how much of this I'm able to get onto my lid here at first. Oh, this reminds me so much of one of the Wooden's eyeshadows that I absolutely love. This is definitely more of a topper shade. It's not like super opaque, but holy glittery goodness, that is really, really pretty. Like, I feel like you could use this color along with like greens and stuff too, and it would look really, really nice. It definitely has a very strong green shift to it. So I'm just gonna take my time and like really pack on a lot of this, because this is so pretty. Wow, it is so glittery. This is what I love in eyeshadows. I love something that's very, I don't like the word textured. Textured is not what I'm looking for. I like something that has dimension to it and has like small glitter particles in it without being chunky. Like, I want it to be nice and smooth, and this is looking so good. Oh my god, like, is this coming across on camera? Because that is so green. It's absolutely crazy. It does have quite a kind of creamy formula in the pan, so I do have to sort of dig my brush into it a little bit, but when I do that, it definitely picks it up very nicely. This palette, I can tell you right now that when traveling happens again, I'm bringing this palette. This palette is so good. Like, who did this brand think they are, who can just come out with a palette like this as their first palette and just kill it? Okay, I don't have words, you guys. So I do want to use another shade as well, but I also don't want to mess up this look. This is so trippy. Like, these are so shifty that it's hard for me to like choose a shade. Is there anything that's gonna go with this? What if I put a little bit of this? I think that's gonna kind of look nice. Maybe a little bit out of place, but maybe also kind of unexpected. Ooh, that would look really nice as well. Maybe that's what I'll do. What about the red? Should I use a little bit of the red just like in the middle here? Would that be really crazy? I feel like the red is almost a little bit too metallic to kind of like blend nicely into these other ones, because it's not the kind of look that I have going on. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this one, I think. This one was the one called Just Watch. This one picks up beautifully. I'm just gonna put a little bit of that just on the outer portion here and sort of blend these two together. That is really, really pretty as well. I love how many different formulas there are in this palette, and these are like my kind of shimmer formulas. I just love it. It's almost like this palette was made for me. I think we might have a contender for best palette of 2021. Is it too early to say that? I don't know, but I'm having a really good time with this, not gonna lie, and I can't wait to do more looks. So this is, I think, where I'm going to leave it. Why does my blend look really bad on the outer corner? I'm gonna fix that. I keep looking at myself in the mirror because this is just insane. Oh, and I should have used this mirror. Totally forgot, but I'll leave that in front of me for next time. So I think this is where I'm going to leave it. This is so cool. Oh, it's just so beautiful. I'm gonna finish off my eyes. I'll come back. We can play a little bit more with the BK Beauty brushes, and yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, so the eyes are all done. I didn't do anything fancy. I did a little bit of green liner in my waterline from Lethal, as always, and then for my lips, I used a lip liner from NYX. This one is in the shade Bedrose, and I used one of the ZZ lipsticks. This is in the shade 01. These are so beautiful, but it's the kind of formula that's almost like a blotted formula, so you're kind of forced to have like a blotted lip line or not a very defined lip line if you don't use a lip liner, which is why I use the lip liner, because I do prefer having a bit more of a defined lip line. So let's go ahead and put on some blush. I'm going to use the Wooden's blush in Ripe Papaya because I just feel like it's going to go very nicely with this look and kind of make this into a full monochromatic type thing. And I think I'm going to use this brush here. This is probably going to be a little big for me, but that can be said for honestly most of these brushes. They're a little bit bigger than what I usually use, but that's okay. So this is the 104. This is going to be nice and fluffy here. And I know that synthetic brushes don't pick up as much product, so I don't have to be like super careful. Sometimes when I use my Rephr brushes with the Unside blush brush is literally the hardest thing to like get right. Sometimes when I use my Rephr brushes with the Unside blushes, there we go, it can tend to go a little bit overboard, but I feel like this picks up beautifully and it's giving me a really, really nice and diffused look. Still obviously very blush heavy, but I do prefer that, and I think this looks really, really nice. So like I was saying, so far I really like the quality of these brushes. I think that they are really, really nice. It's just that some of the brushes are a little bit too big for what I normally use. It's not going to keep me from using them though, because I'm very grateful that I have them and I'm very happy to be using them, and they're definitely doing a good job. It's just I need to get used to brushes that are a little bit on the larger side. I'm definitely going to blush my nose today because how can I not, right? Maybe I should do some freckles with this look. I feel like that would look really nice with this. I'm gonna go over this again one more time with the brush that I used for my powder. This is the 102 brush. Just gonna kind of make sure that I diffuse this out very nicely here. And I'm just doing a little bit of freckles with my Lime Crime freckle pen. I have mine in the shade Amber. I do have both colors, but I definitely prefer this one. I find it just looks a little bit more natural and good on my skin tone. So this is the one that I've been using the most. In the summer, I did use the other one in the shade Cocoa a little bit more, but I feel like in the winter, now that I don't have a tan at all, this just looks the best. So I think that's gonna be it. I do need some highlighter though. Let me figure out what it is that I want to do. I feel like the one and only choice is going to be the Prophecy highlighter from Kaleidos because it just seems like the right thing to do. So I don't have any brushes here from them that I can use as my highlighting brush. Maybe I can use this large eyeshadow brush. That's usually how I use very, or I wouldn't even say very, but just like big blending brushes that are a little bit too big. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use this for my highlighter. I like to have a very precise application, especially with a highlighter as intense as this. I don't want it to go like all over my face, so this is actually quite nice for this. This is the, let's see, 201 brush, and I just love this highlighter, and I figured since the highlighter has a bit of a kind of green shift to it, it would look really nice with the eyeshadow. Man, this just goes overboard so easily. It's so intense, and like in the best way possible, of course, but usually I go into this being like, I'm gonna be careful today. I'm not gonna go crazy with it, but it just goes crazy on its own. It's like it has a life of its own here. I'm gonna put a little bit of this on my brow bone as well. And there is a really, really nice brush for that in the set. I actually used that for my inner corner. I just took a little bit of the lid shade and wrapped it around. This is the 204 brush. And I feel like one of the things that I've kind of been missing in my collection is like a brow bone highlight brush, something that's like really small, but at the same time picks up color nicely, which it's sometimes hard to find like very small brushes like this that I can get a nice precise application with. This looks so good. I love this. So I don't know what I was saying. I lost my train of thought and I got so distracted looking at this highlighter and this eye look, and I'm obsessed. That's all I'm gonna say. So I think that's gonna be it for this look. Yeah, that's basically gonna be it. Yeah, so like I was saying before, expect more looks with this palette and expect me to probably be quite positive in that video and maybe a little bit shook and blown away because that's how I'm feeling right now. I just can't believe that this year is off to such a good start when it comes to makeup. I mean, first, I almost get a replacement for my Bad Gal Bang. I have not been reaching for my Bad Gal Bang since I tried the Ofra mascara, which says a lot, but I'm gonna reserve any judgment. It's very hard to review mascaras because you don't know how they're going to kind of warm up over time. This is still a very new tube, and I will say that right now it's kind of dry, like it's a much drier formula than my Bad Gal Bang. I find that my Bad Gal Bang usually has a very long shelf life, or like it lasts for a long time because it starts off being very wet, which I know some people don't like that, but once it dries up it's still like amazing. But this one starts off being a little bit more on the dry side, so I don't know like how long this is going to last compared to the other one. But so far I absolutely love this mascara, and like I said, I have not been reaching for my Bad Gal Bang since, so that says a lot. Don't forget to check out Its Bel Cosmetics. I also forgot to tell you the price of this palette, which I know I should have said that in the beginning of the video, but honestly this palette is a steal. This palette is only $28, which for a palette like this with shades like this in it, and also the packaging is really, really nice and sturdy. It feels nice in your hands. It's got a nice finish to it. It just feels like a really, really nice quality palette, and for being their first palette, honestly, I'm so impressed and I'm just excited to play more with this, and I hope that you guys are excited too. So thank you so much for watching as always. If you want to see another video, I will pop one up right here that I think you're going to like. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.